Inde. My friends, every dream we hold in our hearts, every destination we long to reach, every transformation we wish to see in our lives, all of it begins with just one step. Not a giant leap, not a perfect plan, but a simple, sincere, courageous step forward. Too often we wait for the right time, the perfect condition, the complete clarity, but life doesn't reward hesitation, it rewards motion. The river doesn't know how deep it is until it begins to flow. The bird doesn't know how high it can soar until it opens its wings. And we will never know our true strength until we begin. Every great achievement you see around, be it in personal growth, relationships, careers, or spirituality, was once just a small beginning, often uncertain and uncomfortable. But it was a beginning. The most powerful journeys don't start with confidence. They start with commitment. You don't need to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step, and the rest will appear as you move forward. Let us remember, movement creates momentum. Each step we take, no matter how small, builds the courage, clarity, and conviction we need for the next one. The first step might not take you where you want to go, but it takes you out of where you are in thee. And that's the start of every transformation. Behind every great dream that ever touched the heart of humanity lies a beginning so small that most people would have overlooked it. The grandest mountains were once tiny particles of dust, and the vast ocean began with just a single drop of water. In the same way, every dream, every vision, every aspiration we hold in our hearts begins as a small thought, fragile, uncertain, and often ignored. Yet, it is in these small beginnings that the greatest stories of transformation are born. The first step may look insignificant, but it carries within it the seed of greatness. The problem is that many of us underestimate the power of starting small. We want to see big results instantly, forgetting that even the mightiest tree had to push through the soil as a delicate sprout before it could stand tall against the wind. When we think of success, we often imagine people who have already reached the peak. The entrepreneur running a large company, the artist celebrated for their work, the spiritual leader guiding millions, or the athlete standing on the podium. What we don't see are the small, hidden steps that built their journey, the quiet mornings, the long nights, the unnoticed failures, and the persistence to keep moving forward despite the uncertainty. Every master was once a beginner who chose not to give up. Every great journey, no matter how far, began when someone decided to take the first step, however humble it was. It's easy to dream big. It's much harder to begin small. We are often afraid that small efforts won't make a difference, that our steps are too tiny to matter. But history has shown us again and again that greatness grows from small beginnings. When we water the little seeds of effort each day with patience, discipline, and hope, they eventually bloom into achievements that inspire others. Think of the young student who studies a few pages every day. One day, that steady discipline transforms into knowledge and wisdom. Think of a person who starts walking for 5 minutes each morning to improve their health. Over time, that habit can change their entire lifestyle. These are not giant leaps, but consistent, faithful steps that lead to transformation. There will always be a voice within us that says, "You're not ready yet," or "Wait until you have everything figured out." But life doesn't wait for perfect timing. Indeed, it rewards those who begin with what they have. The first step may not be glamorous or noticeable to anyone else, but it is the most important one. It breaks inertia. It tells the universe that you are ready to grow, to learn, to evolve. Once you begin, momentum builds, and that momentum becomes your greatest ally. Small beginnings also teach us humility. They remind us to value the process, not just the outcome. When we start small, we learn to appreciate every bit of progress, every small win, every lesson learned along the way. Growth becomes more meaningful when we understand the journey that built it. The person who starts with nothing and works step by step to build something beautiful knows the true value of perseverance. So never underestimate the power of your first step. It might not change your world today, but it has the potential to change your tomorrow. Whether it's a dream you've kept in your heart for years or a goal you've been too afraid to chase, take that small step today. Because when you start, the universe starts moving with you. That single, brave, imperfect beginning carries within it the spark of transformation. And that is how every great journey in life truly begins. Perfection is a beautiful illusion that keeps many people from moving forward. We often tell ourselves, "I'll start when I'm ready," or "I'll take action when everything is perfect." But that day never truly comes, because perfection is not a destination. It's a mirage that keeps moving further away the closer we get to it. Progress, on the other hand, is real, attainable, and transformative. It's through progress that we learn, grow, and become better versions of ourselves. The truth is, no masterpiece was ever painted perfectly on the first stroke. No great speech was delivered without nervousness, and no business was built without mistakes. The magic doesn't lie in flawless beginnings. It lies in the courage to begin despite imperfections. Many of us delay our dreams because we are waiting for the moment, the perfect plan, or the complete confidence to start. But the right moment rarely announces itself. It's something we create by taking action. The world doesn't reward the one who waits for everything to align. It rewards the one who moves forward with what they have. Progress is built on imperfect actions done consistently. Every time you take a step, even a clumsy one, you are learning something new, refining your path, and moving closer to your goal. The person who starts today with an imperfect plan will always be ahead of the person still waiting for the perfect one. We often admire successful people and assume they had everything figured out from the beginning. But if we could see behind the curtain, we would realize that most of them started uncertain, confused, and afraid. Their strength wasn't in knowing everything. It was in their willingness to learn along the way. They embraced mistakes as teachers, failures as stepping stones, and challenges as opportunities to grow. That's what separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers imagine perfect outcomes. Doers embrace imperfect beginnings. The doer understands that perfection will never appear at the start. It unfolds gradually through persistence and patience. Progress has its own beauty. It humbles us, teaches us resilience, and fills our hearts with gratitude. Each small step forward is a victory in itself. When you look back, you'll realize that it wasn't one grand moment of perfection that changed your life, but a collection of small, imperfect actions taken with sincerity. Think of a writer who writes a few sentences every day, revising, editing, and improving. Over time, those imperfect sentences become a book. Or think of a musician who practices one melody again and again until it sounds right. Progress may look messy in the moment, but it's the path that leads to mastery. There's a powerful truth in accepting imperfection. It frees you from fear. The moment you stop waiting for everything to be perfect, you liberate yourself from hesitation. You begin to move, experiment, and discover. Progress is forgiving. It allows you to make mistakes and still move forward. Perfection, on the other hand, paralyzes. It keeps you trapped in endless preparation, making you believe that you're not good enough to start. But every expert was once a beginner who dared to be imperfect. Every masterpiece went through revisions. Every success story includes mistakes, and every great journey had moments of doubt. So instead of striving to be perfect, strive to be consistent. Instead of seeking flawlessness, seek growth. Life rewards the one who keeps moving, who learns from each experience, who dares to show up even when they're unsure. Because progress, not perfection, is what transforms potential into purpose. The imperfect step you take today carries more power than the perfect plan you never begin. Every time you move forward, you become a little wiser, a little stronger, and a little closer to the person you are meant to be. Courage is not something that suddenly appears in our hearts before we begin. It's something that grows within us as we take each step forward. Many people wait for courage to arrive, as if it were a guest that must knock on the door before they start their journey. But the truth is, courage doesn't come from waiting. It comes from doing. It is born in the moments when we act despite our fears, when we decide that our dreams are more important than our doubts. The first step is really taken in confidence. It is often taken with trembling hands and an uncertain heart. But that one brave decision to begin is what gives courage a place to live within us. Fear often disguises itself as logic. It tells us, "You're not ready yet. What if you fail?" Or, "What will people say?" These thoughts are not signs of weakness. They're signs that something meaningful is at stake. Fear only exists where there is potential for growth. But courage is not the absence of fear. It's the determination to move forward in spite of it. You can't think your way into courage. You have to step into it. Each time you take action in the face of uncertainty, you teach yourself that fear doesn't have to be your master. You begin to realize that it is possible to walk with fear and still move toward your purpose. I flew. Think of a child learning to walk. The child doesn't wait until they're certain they won't fall. They wobble, they stumble, they fall, but they get up again and again. Each fall teaches them balance, and each step builds confidence. That is how courage works. It grows through experience, not through contemplation. The same is true for all of us. Whether it's starting a new career, speaking in front of others, or pursuing a long-held dream, the courage to do these things develops only when we take that first imperfect step. It's not waiting for the fear to fade. It's choosing to move while fear is still present. Every courageous person you've ever admired has felt the same emotions you feel: doubt, fear, hesitation. The difference is that they didn't let those emotions stop them. They took action anyway. Action is the antidote to fear. The moment you move, fear begins to lose its grip because your energy shifts from worrying to doing. You stop feeding the fear and start feeding your faith. Even a small step in the right direction changes the atmosphere around you. It turns paralysis into progress, uncertainty into learning, and hesitation into strength. Courage also teaches us trust. Trust in ourselves and in life. When we take a step forward without knowing exactly where it will lead, we are exercising faith that something meaningful will unfold. Sometimes the path clears as we walk. Sometimes we discover new abilities we never knew we had. Courage gives us the chance to meet parts of ourselves that would have stayed hidden if we had waited for perfect certainty. And even if the outcome isn't what we expect, we grow in wisdom, resilience, and confidence simply because we dare to act. It's easy to admire courage in others, but it's far more powerful to awaken it within ourselves. Every time we face something difficult and choose to act with sincerity, we strengthen the muscle of courage. Over time, we begin to see fear differently, not as an enemy, but as an opportunity to expand our limits. Courage doesn't promise that everything will go smoothly. It promises that we will become strong enough to handle whatever comes. That strength doesn't arrive before the journey begins. It's built along the way, one bold, uncertain, beautiful step at a time. Faith is the invisible bridge that carries us across the gaps where sight cannot guide us. In life, we often stand at crossroads where the path ahead is unclear. We look for certainty, for signs, for proof that our next step will lead us somewhere safe. But faith doesn't wait for clarity. It moves with trust. It's the quiet conviction that even if we can't see the full picture, the next piece will appear once we take the first step. Faith whispers to us that life unfolds in divine timing, that every moment, every turn, every delay has a purpose, even if we cannot understand it now. When we walk by faith, we are saying, I may not know how, but I believe that somehow it will work out. This doesn't mean blind optimism. It means a deep inner knowing that there is a greater plan at work. Faith is what allows us to move when logic tells us to stop, to keep going when circumstances say it's over, and to hope when everything seems dark. It teaches us to release our need for control and to trust that what is meant for us will come in its perfect season. It takes humility to accept that we don't have all the answers and courage to move forward despite that. But that's where the beauty of faith lies. It fills the gap between where we are and where we are meant to be. There will be times when the path seems confusing, when prayers seem unanswered, and when the heart feels heavy with uncertainty. In those moments, faith becomes our anchor. It steadies us when everything around us is shaking. It reminds us that even though we can't see the destination, we are not walking alone. There is something divine guiding us, something that knows the way better than we do. Sometimes what looks like a delay is actually preparation. Sometimes what feels like rejection is protection. Faith helps us trust that even the detours have direction. Think of a farmer who plants seeds in the soil. He cannot see what's happening beneath the ground, but he still waters the soil every day because he believes in the unseen growth. He knows that even though nothing appears on the surface for a while, something powerful is taking shape below. That is how faith works in our lives. We may not see the results immediately, but when we keep nurturing our efforts with patience and belief, eventually the fruit appears. The process may be silent, but it's never empty. Faith also gives us the strength to handle disappointment. Life doesn't always go according to our plans, but faith helps us believe that even when things don't work out the way we expected, they are still working out for our good. It transforms pain into purpose and confusion into clarity. When one door closes, faith encourages us to knock on another, believing that something better is being prepared behind it. It's this inner strength that allows us to rise after every setback, to start again after every failure, and to keep moving forward even when the destination is hidden. The most powerful journeys are not walked by sight, they are guided by trust. Faith teaches us to take steps not because the path is visible, but because our heart knows it's right. When we move with faith, we shift from anxiety to assurance, from control to surrender, from doubt to peace. Every time we choose faith over fear, we open the door for miracles to unfold. And even though we may not see the full plan, we begin to realize that the very act of walking in faith is what brings light to our path, one step at a time. Fear is a natural part of every human journey. It's that whisper in our mind that says, "What if it doesn't work?" Or, "What if I fail?" It's the invisible wall that stands between where we are and where we want to go. Many people wait for fear to disappear before they take a step forward, but the truth is, fear never truly goes away. It changes shape, it finds new disguises, but it always walks beside us. The real strength lies not in eliminating fear, but in learning to walk despite it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else, something greater, is more important than fear itself. Fear often tries to protect us. It warns us of danger, helps us make careful choices, and keeps us alert. But when we allow fear to take control, it becomes a prison. It convinces us to stay in our comfort zones, to avoid risk, to live safe but small lives. Fear whispers that it's better not to try than to fail. But what it doesn't tell us is that by refusing to try, we fail anyway, because we never give ourselves the chance to grow. Every dream we abandon, every opportunity we ignore, every risk we avoid adds another layer to the walls that fear builds around our potential. The truth is, no one who has achieved something meaningful was fearless. Every great inventor, artist, or leader you can think of felt fear of failure, of rejection, of the unknown. But they didn't let that fear dictate their choices. They learned to feel the fear and take the step anyway. That's what separates those who live with purpose from those who merely exist. Each time you take action despite fear, you weaken its power. You begin to understand that fear isn't the enemy. It's the signal that you're standing on the edge of growth. The more you face it, the smaller it becomes. Walking through fear transforms you. It shows you parts of yourself that you never knew existed. When you do the thing you're afraid of, whether it's speaking up, starting something new, or leaving behind what's familiar, you discover strength you didn't know you had. You realize that fear was never as powerful as it seemed. Most fears live only in our imagination, magnified by uncertainty. But action has a way of silencing those illusions. The moment you step forward, you take back control from fear and place it in your own hands. Fear also teaches humility and faith. It reminds us that we're human, that we don't have all the answers, and that's perfectly fine. When we admit our fears, we give ourselves permission to be real and vulnerable, and that's where true growth begins. Fear can be a guide showing us where our biggest opportunities for transformation lie. If something scares us deeply, it often means it matters to us deeply. So instead of running away from fear, we can learn to listen to it, understand it, and then move forward with wisdom and strength. The moment you decide to take a step forward, despite your fear, you begin to rewrite your story. You move from being controlled by fear to being guided by purpose. Each act of courage, no matter how small, expands your world and strengthens your spirit. The fear might still be there, whispering doubts, but it no longer defines you. You become the kind of person who doesn't wait for fear to fade, but moves forward with trembling hands and a determined heart. And with every step, you discover that fear was never meant to stop you. It was meant to shape you into someone brave enough to rise above it. Sometimes in life, only takes one small step to change everything. A single decision, a moment of courage, or a simple yes can redirect the entire course of our lives. We often think transformation happens through grand gestures or massive shifts, but in truth, it begins quietly with one meaningful step. Life changes not in leaps, but in choices. The direction of your life is not determined by how fast you move, but by the direction in which you start moving. You don't have to know every detail of the journey you just have to know that the path you're choosing aligns with the whisper of your heart. There are moments when we stand at the edge of change, staring at the unknown ahead. Our mind races with questions. What if it doesn't work? What if I make a mistake? But what if it does work? What if that one step becomes the turning point that leads you toward your greatest growth? That's the beauty of one step. It carries infinite potential. A single act of faith can change the rhythm of your life. Sometimes all that stands between who you are and who you could be is the decision to start. The smallest shift in direction today can lead to an entirely different destination tomorrow. It doesn't matter how uncertain that first step feels. What matters is the willingness to take it. The truth is, no one ever feels completely ready when they begin something new. We grow ready as we go. Every step forward teaches us, strengthens us, and clarifies what we truly want. You may not have all the answers, but that's okay. You're not supposed to. Growth doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from trusting yourself enough to begin. Once you take that step, the fog begins to lift. The path becomes clearer and your confidence grows. One step can shift your perspective entirely. Think of how a sunrise begins. Not with a flood of light, but with a single ray that pierces the darkness. That one beam changes everything. In the same way, when you take one step forward, even if your circumstances haven't changed yet, your mindset does. You begin to think differently, to feel differently, to see possibilities that once seemed invisible. The step itself becomes a signal to your heart, to the universe, that you're ready for growth, ready for transformation. And when you move, life moves with you. This principle applies to every area of life: career, relationships, health, or personal development. Maybe it's that one phone call you've been postponing, one page of writing, one act of forgiveness, one walk towards self-care, or one prayer uttered in sincerity. These small acts may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time, they become the building blocks of a completely different life. The river doesn't begin as a torrent, it begins as a trickle. Yet with time, it carves valleys, shapes mountains, and flows toward greatness. That's the power of a single step. It begins the flow. Taking that one step also breaks the inertia of fear and doubt. Often, our biggest challenge isn't the journey itself, it's starting. Once you begin, momentum takes over. Each movement forward adds a sense of purpose. And that purpose keeps you going when the road feels long. One step has the power to awaken dormant potential, to turn hesitation into hope, and to remind you that progress is always possible. You might stumble along the way, But even stumbling forward is better than standing still. So when life feels overwhelming, don't think about climbing the entire mountain. Just focus on placing one foot in front of the other. Because one step, just one, can change the direction of your destiny. It's not the size of the step that matters, but the courage behind it. Every great transformation begins when you dare to take that single, simple, yet extraordinary first step toward a new beginning. Consistency is the quiet force behind every great success. It doesn't seek attention or applause, yet it builds empires, strengthens character, and transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary results. While the world celebrates talent, intelligence, or luck, it is consistency that silently shapes destinies. Taking one step may start your journey, but taking that step every day with discipline and faith is what turns a dream into reality. Consistency may not always be glamorous, but it is powerful. It's the bridge between intention and accomplishment. Many people begin their journey with enthusiasm, full of motivation and excitement. But somewhere along the way, when challenges arise and progress seems slow, that excitement fades. Motivation can ignite you, but consistency keeps the fire burning. It is what carries you through the days when you don't feel inspired, when results seem distant, and when effort feels unnoticed. Those who succeed in any area of life, spiritual growth, health, relationships, or personal development, understand that steady effort, even in small doses, is far more effective than bursts of intense energy followed by long pauses. Consistency doesn't demand perfection, it only asks for persistence. Each day that you show up, even when you don't see immediate results, you are watering the seeds of your future. The tree doesn't bear fruit overnight, it grows silently, day after day, season after season. The same is true of your dreams. Every act of discipline, every bit of effort, every repeated step is adding strength to your roots. You may not see the growth happening right away, but consistency ensures that the foundation beneath the surface becomes unshakable. And one day, that invisible growth will manifest in visible results that others will call overnight success. Though you'll know it took many quiet, consistent days to get there. Consistency also builds confidence. When you do something regularly, even when it's difficult, you start to trust yourself. You begin to realize that you are capable of showing up for your goals no matter how you feel. That self-trust becomes a source of inner power. The more you follow through on your commitments, the stronger your belief in yourself becomes. Eventually, your mind learns that progress isn't about dramatic changes, but about steady forward motion. You start to understand that every small step counts, that even on your toughest days, showing up is an achievement in itself. It's not always easy to be consistent. There will be distractions, doubts, and days when you feel like giving up. But consistency isn't about perfection, it's about return. Even if you fall, pause, or lose direction, the key is to come back and keep going. The act of returning again and again builds resilience. Consistency is less about doing everything right and more about refusing to quit. Every time you return to your path, you reaffirm your commitment to growth and strengthen your ability to endure. The beauty of consistency is that it compounds. Just as a drop of water can carve stone over time, small efforts done repeatedly create profound transformation. A person who reads a few pages every day becomes wise. A person who practices gratitude daily develops a joyful heart. A person who spends a few minutes in reflection each morning gains peace and clarity. In the little things done consistently are what make the biggest difference in the long run. So even when progress feels invisible, keep going. Every day you show up, you're proving that your dedication is stronger than your doubt. Consistency turns ordinary actions into powerful habits and habits into character. It doesn't demand speed, it demands faithfulness. The journey may be long, but the one who keeps walking, step after step, will always reach farther than the one who stops to wait for the perfect moment. Failure is often seen as the end of the road, a sign that something has gone terribly wrong. But in truth, failure is one of life's greatest teachers. Every stumble, every mistake, every setback is part of the journey toward growth. No one reaches success without meeting failure along the way. It is through failure that we discover our resilience, test our faith, and learn the lessons that no classroom could ever teach. The world often glorifies success stories, but behind every victory lies a series of failures that shaped, refined, and strengthened the person who achieved it. Failure is not a stop sign. It's a redirection toward a wiser path. When we fail, it hurts. The disappointment, the embarrassment, the loss of confidence, it can make us want to retreat and never try again. But failure only defeats us if we let it define us. In reality, failure is evidence that we dared to try, that we stepped out of our comfort zone, that we had the courage to attempt something uncertain. People who never fail are often those who never risk, and those who never risk seldom grow. Every great inventor, artist, or leader has faced failure, not once, but many times. What sets them apart is their ability to look beyond the pain of the moment and see the lesson hidden within it. Failure strips away illusions. It reveals what truly matters, showing us what we need to improve and what we need to let go of. It tests our commitment, how badly we want what we're working for. Sometimes failure is not a rejection from life, but a form of protection, steering us away from a path that wasn't meant for us. Sometimes it's a form of preparation, equipping us with the strength and wisdom we'll need later. If we can shift our perspective and see failure not as a punishment but as a process, we'll begin to appreciate its purpose. The people who grow the most are those who learn to rise after they fall. Falling doesn't make you weak, staying down does. Every time you stand up after a failure, you gain a deeper understanding of yourself. You learn patience, humility, and endurance. You begin to see that success isn't about avoiding mistakes. It's about learning from them. The greatest minds in history didn't avoid failure, they used it. They studied it, learned from it, and turned it into a stepping stone towards success. Each setback refined their vision and strengthened their determination. Failure also teaches empathy. When we experience our own struggles, we learn to understand others better. We become more compassionate, more grounded, and more aware of how fragile success can be. It humbles us and makes us grateful for progress, however small it may be. Without failure, we would never appreciate achievement. Without loss, we would never value growth. Failure adds depth to our journey, reminding us that success isn't defined by a single victory, but by the ability to rise again and again. In every failure lies a hidden opportunity, a lesson, a redirection, a chance to rebuild stronger. When something doesn't go as planned, it doesn't mean the dream is over. It might just mean that there's another way to reach it. Life has a way of using failure to refine our path. Every fall brings with it new wisdom. Every ending makes room for a new beginning. The seed must crack before it can grow into a tree. The night must come before dawn. Failure is that cracking, that darkness before light. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. So instead of fearing failure, we can learn to embrace it as part of our evolution. We can look at every mistake as a message, every setback as a step forward in disguise. Because in the grand journey of life, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every fall is a reminder that we are trying, growing, and moving towards something greater than we were yesterday.